There's a lot of anal retentive information out there when it comes to rifle setup. And what we're going to talk about in this lesson is setting up the scope and where to put it on the pick rail. We want to make sure that we have a good balance where it is within the rings. I see a lot of guys that bury them one side to the other. I like to have them centered up and give myself the ability to move the entire scope one pick rail forward or back and make sure that I can do that. So we're going to look at that setup that we're using. So setting up the scope as well as setting up the rifle fit is super important. So let's talk about that. Okay, here's the deal with setting up the optic for you. Make sure you're bringing all of this to you and don't try to wrap yourself around the rifle system. A lot of guys will go out there and have somebody else set this up for them, but you still want to bring this back into play so that way there it's comfortable, it's relaxed, you're not fighting with the setup. Make sure you understand your length of pull in that reach because that's going to matter where your head position is as far as your stock goes and where you are behind the rifle. Then you want to look at the mounting and make sure you're not binding and pinching everything. Follow your torque recommendations for setting this up and putting into position. I use the key when you're leveling a scope. You level off the flat, don't level off the turrets up here. Level off the bottom, flat to flat. We have a flat pick rail, we have a flat bottom on here. We're trying to get these in agreement because it really doesn't matter how we set the rest of it up, whether we're going to move this at all or twist it, but we want to make sure that the reticle is set to the fall of gravity. Okay, gravity is all the bullet cares about once it leaves. So this is now set up. I have my data. I ran the chronograph information. I now can figure out what this is and get it ready in case I want to shoot it at competition next week. Finally, the last thing we want to talk about with setting up our scope to our system is zeroing out the turrets so they read 0-0. A lot of guys come to class and these aren't zeroed out. I just did a quick zero on this and I made sure I brought them back to 0-0 and set them. So both my windage and elevation are set to 0-0 at 100 yards. It's my reference point. It tells me where to go and make sure my zero stops are correct. Don't walk off the line without these reading 0-0 when you're putting it away. Super important so you always know the condition of your optic. Thanks, guys.